I was 23 years old when I learned that blood means nothing if there's money on the table. My grandmother passed away 6 months ago. She raised me. Not my parents, well, not really. My mom was around, but Grandma was the one who taught me how to tie my shoes, how to bake bread, how to stand up for myself. When she died, I didn't just lose a grandparent. I lost the only person who ever made me feel like I mattered without conditions. But what I didn't know yet was that losing her was only the beginning. Then the will was read. Grandma left me everything. Her house, her savings, her jewelry, everything. She left my aunt, her own daughter, nothing. I didn't ask for it. I didn't even know. But apparently, my aunt, her name is Diane, had been counting on that money for years. She had plans. Renovations for her house. A new car. Maybe a vacation home. And when Grandma cut her out, Diane didn't grieve her mother. She came after me. At first, it was small. Passive-aggressive comments at family dinners. Must be nice to have everything handed to you. Then it escalated. Phone calls at midnight. Texts demanding I do the right thing. She even showed up at my apartment once, pounding on the door until my neighbor threatened to call the police. I thought that was the worst of it. I was wrong. But here's what I didn't see coming. Diane didn't come alone to that meeting. She brought an army. It started with a text from my cousin Sarah. Family meeting at Aunt Diane's. Friday at 7. Important. No details. No explanation. Just that. I almost didn't go. Every instinct told me to stay home. But I thought, maybe it was about Grandma's estate. Maybe they wanted to talk about the house. Maybe Diane had finally accepted the will and wanted to mend things. I also texted my mom before leaving. Just in case. Going to Diane's. Feels weird. She replied, stay calm. I'm close by. I had no idea how close. Friday came. I parked outside Diane's house, the same house Grandma helped her buy 10 years ago. The same house Diane was supposedly going to upgrade with my inheritance. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, gripping the steering wheel, telling myself to just get it over with. When I walked in, I felt it immediately. The air was wrong. Everyone was there. Diane, her husband, Mark, my cousins Sarah and Jake, even my uncle, who never comes to anything. They were all sitting around the dining table, perfectly still, like they'd been waiting for me. But that wasn't what made my stomach drop. At the head of the table, 2 people I'd never seen before. Suits, leather briefcases, fancy pens. They didn't look up when I walked in. They just kept shuffling papers, arranging them in neat stacks, like they were setting up for a business meeting. And then I saw the documents. Thick, maybe 20 pages each. Stapled in the corner. A blank line at the bottom of every page. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Have a seat, Diane said. She was smiling. That tight, fake smile she always uses when she thinks she's winning. We've been waiting for you. I sat down at the empty chair at the opposite end of the table. I could feel everyone watching me. Sarah wouldn't even make eye contact. Jake was staring at the table. Mark was leaning back in his chair with his arms crossed, like a bouncer at a club. The doorway behind him was blocked. Something was very wrong. But I didn't know how wrong yet. Diane nodded at one of the lawyers. He slid a stack of papers toward me. What is this? I asked. It's a transfer document, Diane said. Very simple. You sign and the inheritance moves to me. I'll handle everything. The house, the money, the taxes. You don't have to worry about any of it. I stared at her. You want me to sign everything over to you? I want you to do what's right for the family. The family. Not me. Not my future. The family. Meaning her. Grandma left this to me, I said. My voice was shaking, but I didn't care. She wanted me to have it. Your grandmother wasn't thinking clearly at the end, Diane said. We all know that. She was confused. Emotional. You were there all the time, and she got attached. But that doesn't mean she meant to cut out her own daughter. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Grandma was sharp until her last day. She balanced her checkbook 2 days before she died. She remembered every birthday, every anniversary, every promise she'd ever made. There was nothing confused about her. She knew exactly what she was doing, I said. Diane's smile tightened. Sign the papers, sweetheart. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. The lawyer pushed the documents closer to me. I could see the fine print now. Legalese I didn't understand. Paragraphs and clauses and sections. But I saw one thing clearly. The clause that said I would receive nothing. Nothing from the house. Nothing from the savings. Nothing from anything. I would walk away empty-handed, and Diane would take everything. I'm not signing this, I said. The room went dead silent. Then Diane laughed. Not a real laugh. A cold one. You don't have a choice. We have lawyers here. We have witnesses. Everyone in this room agrees this is the right thing to do. So either you sign willingly, or we make this very, very difficult for you. That's when Mark stood up. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, arms still crossed, looking down at me like I was a child throwing a tantrum. He took one step toward the door I came through. Not threatening exactly. Blocking. My hands were shaking now. I looked around the table. My uncle wouldn't meet my eyes. Sarah was biting her lip. Jake looked sick. But no one spoke up. No one said a word. They had planned this. Every detail. Every angle. They thought I would walk in, see the lawyers, see the family, and break. They thought I would cry and sign and disappear so they could go back to pretending everything was fine. But here's what they didn't know. My phone was in my pocket. And I had already texted my mom one word. Now. What happened next changed everything. The lawyer slid a pen across the table. It stopped right in front of me. Black ink. Silver clip. Waiting. Go ahead, Diane said. Let's all move on with our lives. I picked up the pen. And that's when I heard it. The front door opening. Everyone froze. Diane's eyes darted toward the hallway. Mark turned. The lawyers looked up from their papers for the first time. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Clicking against the hardwood floor. Then she walked in. My mom. She didn't look at Diane. Didn't look at Mark or the lawyers or anyone else at the table. She walked straight to me, pulled out the chair beside mine, and sat down. Then she smiled at me, that real smile, the one that says I have got you, and turned to face the room. Funny, my mom said, reaching into her purse. She brought someone too. Diane's face went pale. Mark's arms dropped to his sides. The lawyers exchanged glances. And then my mom pulled out a document. Thicker than theirs. Sealed in a legal envelope with a court clerk's stamp. The kind that comes from a judge's office. But I saw Diane's face when she recognized the seal. And I knew. This wasn't over. This had just begun. My mom placed the envelope on the table. It landed with a soft thud, but in that room, it sounded like a gunshot. Diane was staring at the seal. Her lips parted slightly. Mark leaned forward, trying to read the return address. The lawyers stopped shuffling their papers altogether. What is that? Diane asked. Her voice had changed. The fake sweetness was gone. Now it was sharp. Nervous. My mom didn't answer right away. She just looked around the table, making eye contact with every single person who had tried to intimidate me. You know, my mom said casually, Grandma always said you would show your true colors. She just didn't expect you to bring lawyers to bully a 23-year-old. Diane's jaw tightened. This doesn't concern you. My mom opened the envelope. She pulled out a stack of papers. A restraining order filed 2 days ago. An evidence packet. And something else, a handwritten letter from Grandma, notarized 6 months before she died. This is a restraining order, my mom said. Against you, Diane. Against Mark. Against anyone who tries to pressure my daughter. But that's not why I'm here. I held my breath. What else did she have? She placed another document on top. A police report. Dated 3 weeks ago. I've been building a case against you since the day Grandma died, my mom said. Every text you sent. Every phone call. Every time you showed up at her apartment. I gave it all to the police. And they've been watching. Diane blinked. Watching. The bank transfers. The forged signatures. The $50,000 you stole from Grandma over 3 years while she was still alive. Mark's chair scraped the floor. That's insane. My mom pulled out bank statements. Not from the bank's security footage. That would have required a subpoena. Something better. Grandma's own records. She kept every statement in a shoebox under her bed. and she had circled every withdrawal she didn't recognize. Grandma wasn't confused, my mom said. She knew you were stealing from her. She just didn't have the energy to fight you while she was dying. So she gave me the evidence before she passed. And told me to wait. Wait for what? Diane whispered. For you to do something stupid. Like hire lawyers to coerce her granddaughter in front of witnesses. The two lawyers exchanged a quick, panicked look. One of them started gathering his papers. I wouldn't, my mom said. You were told this was a voluntary mediation. But the moment you pushed documents across that table without verifying the niece had independent counsel, you violated ethics rules. And I have the recording. She held up her phone. A small red light was blinking at the top. The room turned ice cold. Diane stood up. You can't record without consent. This is my house, Mark said. Then his face went pale as he realized he just admitted the recording was legal in a one-party consent state. My mom smiled. See? You're already helping my case. I could barely breathe. This was getting worse by the second. Diane was breathing fast now. Her eyes darted between the door, the lawyers, and my mom. Here's what's going to happen, my mom said. The police are already outside. They've been waiting for my signal. I called them 3 hours ago and told them exactly when this meeting would happen. They have a warrant based on the evidence Grandma left behind. You can't, Diane started. I can. And I did. My mom pulled out one more page. A search warrant for Diane's home and Mark's office. They're going to find the rest of the stolen money in a hidden account. They're going to find the forged documents. And they're going to find the emails you sent to these lawyers lying about the situation. One of the lawyers stood up. We're leaving. Now. You're not, my mom said. The warrant includes anyone in this room who participated in coercion. Sit down. He sat. Then everything happened at once. Diane lunged for the back door. But Mark grabbed her arm, not to help, but to stop her. He was thinking about himself. Let go of me. Diane screamed. I'm not going down for you, Mark said, his voice cold. I didn't know about the elder abuse. That was all you. I just helped move money after you said it was a loan. You knew everything. The front door opened. 2 officers walked in, followed by a detective. They didn't ask questions. They had a photograph of Diane in their hands. Diane Parker, the detective said, you're under arrest for financial exploitation of an elderly person, forgery, and fraud. Diane's body went limp. Mark let her go, and she slid to the floor. The detective read her rights while she sobbed, her makeup running, her perfect plan crumbling. But I didn't feel bad for her. Not for 1 second. As they handcuffed her, she looked at me. Her eyes were red. Begging. You're really going to let them take me? I'm your aunt. I'm family. I looked right back at her. And for the first time in 6 months, I wasn't scared. You stopped being family the moment you stole from Grandma while she was dying, I said. This isn't me doing this to you. This is you doing this to yourself. They led her out. Mark tried to follow, but the detective stopped him. Mark Parker, you're being detained for questioning. Have a seat. He sat. His face was empty. My mom turned to the lawyers. You have 48 hours to provide a full written statement about what Diane told you, or I'm filing bar complaints and naming you in a civil suit. Your choice. They nodded. Fast. Then my mom looked at the rest of the family. My uncle. Sarah. Jake. Everyone who sat in silence while Diane tried to destroy me. You can leave now, she said. But don't expect any of us to forget who sat here and did nothing. They left. Chairs scraping. Footsteps fading. Doors closing. And then it was just me and my mom. She sat beside me and took my hand. Are you okay? I wasn't okay. But I was something better. I was free. But what happened after that night? You won't believe how fast it all collapsed. 3 months later, Diane was convicted. She pleaded guilty to reduced charges in exchange for a 5-year sentence, 3 years in state prison, 2 years probation. The judge called her actions a betrayal of the highest order. Mark was charged as an accessory. He lost his job when his employer found out. The bank started foreclosure proceedings on their house within 60 days. Sarah and Jake stopped visiting their mother. They couldn't look at her the same way. The family never recovered. Most of them don't speak to each other anymore. My uncle tried to apologize, but I told him apologies don't work when you watch someone get bullied and say nothing. I kept Grandma's house. I kept everything. And every morning, I walk into her kitchen, make coffee, and remember the sound of handcuffs clicking shut. They thought they could take everything from me. But in the end, they lost more than I ever had. Diane lost her freedom. Mark lost his marriage. The lawyers lost their credibility. And the family lost its soul. I didn't destroy them. They destroyed themselves. I just opened the door and let everyone watch.